Tonight on Dateline. She's the young woman who captured the country's imagination.
At our local fair, she was actually voted Miss Congeniality.
Jessica Lynch. She enlisted to see the world, but wound up seeing combat up close.
She had literally fired her weapon until it ran out of ammunition.
Tonight, her life as a POW.
He reported seeing somebody literally smacking Jessica Lynch around.
Her stunning rescue.
She's screaming, "Jesse's alive, Jesse's alive."
And the joyous reunion with her family.
That little girl you knew has become an American hero.
Dennis Murphy with the trials and triumph of Private Jessica Lynch. As war rages in Iraq, are we winning the war on terror at home? This airport launched 10 of the 9/11 terrorists. Can we make it terror-proof? Now an all-out crackdown to stare down imposters and screen more than baggage.
Are you honestly saying that a person of Arab descent is not going to be checked out more thoroughly than someone who has blonde hair and blue eyes?
Rob Stafford with tough new tactics in the war on terror. Her name is Green, and her voice, red hot. A hit single, a top CD, from singing backup to up front center stage.
You're being compared to Alicia Keys, Barbra Streisand.
What are they thinking?
Now a big debut tonight where we'll see her dream come true. Rob Stafford with Vivian Green. Making a move? Don't until you see the latest in our hidden camera investigation.
They hold you hostage for your things.
Earlier this year, we showed you how some customers claim they were cheated by movers.
Oh my God, they're taking off with my stuff.
Tonight, we'll show you who's moving in on movers to protect you. Victoria Corderi with Moving Violations. Also, he was on the front lines, bringing back some of the most extraordinary coverage of the war. Looking back at the life of a consummate journalist, remembering NBC's David Bloom. Dateline will continue after this brief message.
Has anybody checked the interior?
Some of the finest leather I've ever seen.
Premium leather?
Rear seat DVD entertainment system.
Entertainment system?
And navigation.
Power rear door.
11 speaker Mark Levinson audio.
Mark Levinson audio?
It's a camera. It's a rear view camera.
Introducing the entirely new Lexus RX 330. Putting the world on notice again.
Everybody knows My Mailboxes, etc. is the best place to pack and ship. But Brown said, let's take it to the next level. You know, ramp it up. Live the dream. We're becoming the UPS store with new low rates direct from UPS and the same great people to help with packing, copying, and mailbox services. You may notice some changes. New sign, new shirt. The shorts will be here soon.
New low rates, same great service. Call 1-800-PICK-UPS.
I usually break it into pieces. That way, you know, you trick your mind into thinking there's more than there actually is. It's a good feeling. It's like, I don't know, like getting a big hug from somebody you haven't seen in a long time. That's what Hershey feels like to me.
It's far better to spend 15 seconds looking at this now than in 15 years wishing you had. Retirement, loans, insurance. AIG. We know money.
Want to see one of the most amazing things to show up in this garden lately? Here it is. Miracle Grow Shake and Feed Slow Release Plant Food. It's the simple, easy way to get great Miracle Grow results. It shakes on dry in minutes and feeds your plants for 3 months. Just look at the difference. A few minutes of shake time, 3 months of show time. Miracle Grow Shake and Feed. Shake a little, grow a lot.
There's nothing like a great night's sleep. I can get an early start in the morning and go out and do something just for me. It's a really good feeling.
If you sometimes have trouble sleeping but worry about taking something, try Tylenol PM. It stops your pain and eases you into a restful night's sleep so you can wake up refreshed.
Come on, honey. It's time to get up.
I love my Tylenol PM.
NBC Tuesday, This Is It. The farewell concert of a legend, Cher. Tuesday on NBC.
From our studios in Rockefeller Center, here is Stone Phillips.
Good evening. American troops continue to encircle and engage the remaining Iraqi forces in Baghdad tonight. Meanwhile, no let-up in the war on terror here at home. Authorities remain on heightened alert to the possibility of a terrorist attack on the ground or in the skies. Are the nation's airports any safer since September 11th? At the airport where 10 of the hijackers boarded the planes that brought down the Twin Towers, the difference couldn't be more dramatic. Here's Rob Stafford.
On September 11th, hijackers about to destroy the World Trade Center in New York rendezvoused here at Boston's Logan Airport. Did they choose it because of lax security? Investigators believe they'd surveyed the airport for months.
And now to Logan Airport, there have been major security scares since the hijackings.
And even after September 11th, with security increased at airports throughout the country, there were embarrassing lapses at Logan.
Security people were fired, the state agency in charge of Logan reorganized, and officials were faced with the need to do something drastic to regain public confidence.
You are about to pass through a security screening checkpoint.
They've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on state-of-the-art security systems, implemented a controversial passenger screening program, and hired arguably the world's foremost expert on aviation security to oversee the changes. Rafi Ron heads a newly formed aviation security company. He's a man with a resume right out of a James Bond novel. Paratrooper in the Israeli army, sky marshal, embassy security officer, national security official in the Prime Minister's office, and most recently and most importantly, head of security at one of the world's safest airports, Ben Gurion in Tel Aviv.
If we were at Ben Gurion right now, would there already be some of your people in this line and we wouldn't even know?
Oh yes, let me put it this way. At Ben Gurion Airport, between the moment you arrive at the airport until you board your aircraft, you've been probably under at least 10 pairs of eyes that have been looking at you.
At Israel's airports, the eyes belong to highly trained government employees, looking for small clues, tip-offs to imminent danger. Luggage is screened by sophisticated explosive detection machines. The airport is surrounded by barbed wire fences, surveillance cameras, and armed guards. But the cornerstone of airport security is passenger screening. At Ben Gurion, it's a matter of life and death.
Welcome to Boston Logan International Airport.
You said in Israel, by the time a passenger gets to the gate, dozens of eyes will have checked them out.
Right.
Is that the case here at Logan now?
Yes, this is the case here in Logan.
State troopers now routinely stop and question passengers.
Ask for ID, flight information, where I'm living and where I'm eating.
Why we were going, how long we were going to be gone.
Logan is the first airport in the country to use this controversial technique, modeled after the Israeli system, which trains security agents to recognize suspicious behavior.
Behavior pattern recognition.
Yep.
Is that a fancy term for profiling?
Well, no, this is not profiling.
Are you honestly saying that a person of Arab descent is not going to be checked out more thoroughly than someone who has blonde hair and blue eyes?
Let me put it this way. If this will be the result of my training, then I failed.
Ron insists his training focuses on the way people act, not on the way they look. To weed out problem airport employees, driver licenses and passports are run through a forgery detection machine. And computers scan and memorize employees' eyes. And a lot of attention and money has been devoted to baggage screening.
Before your luggage ever makes it onto a plane at Logan, it'll pass through one of the most sophisticated screening systems in the world. About 3 miles of conveyor belts are being installed, along with 38 state-of-the-art bomb detection machines.
In addition to the new systems and high-tech gadgetry, Ron says there's a new attitude among the airport employees. The most important ingredient in making Logan, if not terror-proof, at least a lot more secure.
you're trying to train people to believe that today may be the day that there is another attack.
Yes, I believe that the only way to approach the security task at the airport is to believe that this is going to happen every minute.
Something happened on the front lines in Iraq today that has brought the war home to those of us here at NBC News. A treasured colleague, David Bloom, died of an apparent pulmonary embolism while traveling with the Army's 3rd Infantry Division. Later in this broadcast, we'll look back at the life and career of David Bloom.
Still ahead, she's the private who became a POW. But long before that, she was a small-town girl with a big heart.
She was just always smiling and being kind of a jokester, and people liked being around Jessie.
The remarkable story of Private Jessica Lynch.
All right, bye.
Looking for really tough virus protection? Switch to new MSN 8. Sign up now and get virus protection that automatically scans your email, plus 2 months free. It's better with the Butterfly. Call 866-TRY-MSN8 today.
The all-new 265 horsepower Nissan Maxima.
Life may not be as easy as pushing a button. But with e-file from the IRS, your taxes can be. It's the fastest, surest way to get your taxes behind you. So ask your tax preparer or visit us on the web.
Have you tried Rolaids' 2 great new flavors? They're tropical, cool, smooth, new tropical punch, and cool strawberry. Pick some fruit. Feel the relief.
Is razor burn ruining your morning? The Extreme 3 from Schick balances 3 blades on a central pivot for a close, comfortable shave. The Extreme 3. Get close, not burned.
Roundup Fast Act Foam. Its patented formula knocks out weeds in 24 hours. The leading imitator doesn't. Roundup Fast Act Foam knocks out weeds in 24 hours. It's only a house until you come home.
Introducing new 3-in-1 pillar candles from Glade. Starlit Garden has 3 individual fragrance layers: Moonflower, Lemon Lily, and Jade Orchid, each designed to blend beautifully from one scent to the next, so you can enjoy 3 spellbinding fragrances in one enchanting candle. New Glade 3-in-1 candles, because 3 scents are better than 1.
Packing up your home, entrusting your belongings and your memories to strangers with a truck. Earlier this year, we showed you what happened when we focused our hidden cameras on the moving industry. Some movers were ready to take your business and just about everything else you have. Tonight, Victoria Corderi has the latest developments in our Dateline hidden camera investigation.
Basically, everything that's here.
A Dateline hidden camera move demonstrated just how vulnerable consumers really are.
we were inundated with paperwork.
You want to sign the date?
Surprised by unexpected charges.
200, 150. Extra for.
Extra dollars?
Yeah.
Wow.
And shocked by how much the movers claimed our belongings weighed.
You were 2,000 pounds off.
That's your mattress?
We met consumers who had nightmarish experiences.
I would be so pissed. They hold you hostage for your things.
With movers who upped the price dramatically once they had the consumer's belongings on the truck.
They called and said, you don't owe us $1,600, you owe us $8,800. See you around 2 o'clock.
And when they didn't pay...
Oh my God, they're taking off with my stuff.
And this is what happened when we tracked the movers down.
In particular.
Can you just open the door, please?
Can you stop and talk to us for a second?
Out.
Is that a no? Okay, one we'll talk about.
We looked for answers from Wisconsin Representative Tom Petri, head of the congressional committee that oversees the moving industry.
What's it going to take for a change?
We're working on it, it's the best I can say.
Well, you know, a lot of people listening to that who've been ripped off would say that's not good enough.
It's not good enough, but it's better than nothing.
This was a 2-year investigation that focused on companies that victimized hundreds and hundreds of persons.
Now some signs things might be changing. On March 4th, the FBI and state authorities in Florida moved in on the movers, 16 companies, including all of the ones that scammed these victims. 74 employees were indicted on multiple charges of conspiracy, fraud, and extortion. One employee of a moving company Dateline investigated is now a fugitive. Employees of the other companies we looked into have pleaded not guilty. The same week, Congressman Petri finally introduced legislation to help victimized consumers fight back.
We need to give hope to consumers that they're not defenseless in the case of abuse.
Still, if you're going to move, you'd do well to listen to those who have learned the hard way.
Anybody who's moving, oh my gosh, research like crazy, ask people, have them come to your home and give you a legitimate estimate because they've seen your things and they know where you're going, and don't just go for the bottom line.
Coming up next, she sings songs from the heart in a velvet voice.
Yesterday, I told myself
Vivian Green's roller coaster ride to the top. And on a Katie Couric exclusive tonight at 10, you've heard the harrowing story of the Central Park jogger. 14 years ago, she was raped and beaten. Doctors thought her chances were slim to none.
You know, he examined her and he basically came out and told her family, you know, A, she's probably not going to make it, and B, if she does, you know, she'll be a vegetable.
Who is she? Where is she now? Tonight, for the first time, you'll get the answers from the woman herself. A story of a brutal crime and a woman's astonishing rebirth. A Katie Couric exclusive tonight at 10.
NBC Monday starts with an all-new Fear Factor. Go! With drag racing, Fear Factor style.
No way!
Then all-new Third Watch with Tom Berenger.
Get these up quick!
And only 4 episodes left until the compelling season finale.
Get down!
Then all-new Crossing Jordan, a woman found.
She was shot.
A crime with so many turns, not the least of which is this.
She's alive!
Fear Factor, Third Watch, and Crossing Jordan, all new NBC Monday.
This is the new Kubota Grand L30. It has more horsepower, more features, even more metal. It also has something I've never seen in a compact tractor before. A brain. Look, a fully computerized instrument panel with an all-digital display.
What's it telling you now, Jerry?
Get back to work.
Smart tractor.
Brains and brawn. The new Kubota Grand L30.
Hi friends, Mike Ognebeen here again at Mike Ognebeen Ford Batavia, the unbeatable dealer. The largest selection of pre-owned and brand new Super Duties in this area. Crew cabs, super cabs, regular cabs, gas or diesel, whatever you have. We also give huge trade-in allowances, and on any brand new one, $300 over memo. Call us and we'll explain that to you. The best prices, the best selection are right here at Mike Ognebeen Ford. Call us at 3431004, or better yet, we'll see you right here.
I heard tires squealing, and all of a sudden, boom, and I got hit.
Hurt in a car wreck? Call us, and we'll take care of everything.
He handled everything perfectly. He's really good.
Good things happen the minute you call 800-LAW-1333.
My settlement was several times what my insurance company had promised me.
Hurt? Call us.
We're Alexander and Catalano.
Once you've been through an experience like this, the only thing you can say comes from the heart.
Thanks for making News 10 NBC at 11 Rochester's #1 late local newscast.
From our studios in New York, here is Jane Pauley.
She started singing when she was 5, wrote her first song at 11, and in high school she was dreaming of stardom while slogging through Algebra 2. Even if you're clueless in calculus, you probably know this: hard work times talent equals success. It's an equation this young singer has down cold. Her name is Vivian Green, and at the ripe age of 23, she struck gold. Here's Rob Stafford.
Vivian Green is living her American dream, and she didn't do it with a quick stop on American Idol. This 20-something has made it where thousands of wannabes would give anything to be the top of the charts. Her single, Emotional Roller Coaster, has been a #1 R&B song, and her album, A Love Story, just went gold.
I go into the supermarket and, what's your name? I'm like, Vivian Green. I'm like, yeah.
Little by little, people are discovering who she is, and those who've heard her songs can't forget that voice. But a great voice in today's crowded field does not a star make. It takes that certain something to get the right people to take notice. A something R&B singer and songwriter Vivian Green has to spare.
You're being compared to Alicia Keys, Barbra Streisand. I mean, that's pretty impressive company.
I know.
When you hear that, what do you think?
I think, what are they thinking?
It all began at age 5 in Vivian's hometown of Philadelphia.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Number.
Her mom taught her a song, a melody set to the names of every book of the Bible, and she sang it at a church talent show.
1st and 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, Jude, Revelation.
66 books, and you remember that when you were 5.
Yep, never forget it.
When did you know that this is what I want to do?
When I was 13. Yeah.
13. I mean, most 13-year-olds can barely get their homework done.
Well, I always did really good in school, so that wasn't a problem for me. It started to become a problem in high school because on my Algebra 2 composition book on the other page, writing a song, like not paying attention. Tell me now.
Vivian multitasked her way through high school in just 3 years, and by the time she was 17, sold a song she co-wrote to the group Boys to Men. Dear God was the tune, and the album was a hit.
When I got that song on that record, my little piece of publishing credit, I was really happy. At 17 is cool.
In that year, when a record company called to offer a contract, Vivian thought it was her big break, but the deal collapsed. She talked it over with her mom.
I said, Mom, I should just go to school, and just forget about singing completely.
You're worried the career's over at 17.
Yeah, because that was my window of opportunity right there, Everything just seemed to be going right, and for it just to all fall through, it was just really devastating for me, and so I just thought maybe I shouldn't do it.
But her mom wouldn't let her quit and combed through, of all places, the help wanted ads looking for a break. And soon she got it, singing with a local band on the wedding and dinner dance circuit. Then began as a backup singer to fellow Philadelphian, Grammy-nominated R&B sensation Jill Scott.
Situation, temptation, education, relaxation.
On stages bigger than any Vivian had been on before, including The Tonight Shows. But she was so determined to chase her own dreams that Vivian Green did the unthinkable. She quit, taking a huge leap of faith to go out and seek her own fortunes.
Please welcome Vivian Green.
In just one short year, she was back on The Tonight Show, no longer in the shadows of someone else, but center stage.
That I was still being taken for a constant ride on you.
Now she's got it all. A record deal, a top-selling CD, an international tour.
And I see no one but you at all.
Performing in front of an audience is what Vivian says she loves.
And oh, ain't nothing but love. That's what it is. And it's getting sweeter and sweeter.
And just when it seemed life couldn't get any sweeter, it most certainly did.
Brenda Holloway is who I am becoming.
She's scheduled to make her primetime network debut tonight.
Keep looking at me. Keep looking this way. Yeah, just slowly bring yourself. There you go. Come all the way around.
She'll guest star as 60s singer Brenda Holloway on the television show American Dreams.
Come back to me, darling, you'll see.
That's not Brenda Holloway's voice, it's Vivian's, an uncanny similarity. And Vivian Green has even bigger plans ahead.
Last night I cried, tossed and turned.
But she vows never to forget where she came from in the days of scribbling songs in her algebra book.
I just feel like this is just plain old Vivian who always sang, who always was pursuing having a singing career, and she's finally done it.
I am Vivian Green.
As she tells her growing group of fans, no dream is unreachable. Vivian Green is now on the road in her first nationwide tour. You can see her American Dreams debut coming up next here on NBC.
Coming up next, family and friends prepare to welcome home rescued POW Jessica Lynch.
I'm not a really real huggy-feely person, but inside I'd want to grab her and hug her and just be glad she's doing okay.
The latest on saving Private Lynch. Plus, his reports from the front lines brought home the realities of war.
We are in a fierce sandstorm right now in south central Iraq.
Remembering NBC's David Bloom.
Gotta be the tag.
Hanes introduces the tagless tee. No tag, no itch. Hanes Comfort. It's a beautiful thing.
Go tagless.
Harry Potter. On April 11th, own the DVD that takes you beyond the adventure. See 19 additional and extended scenes. Experience the magic in ways you never could before. Own Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, April 11th on DVD.
This mess calls for brawny.
Only Brawny paper towels have scrubbing circles for scrubbing strength. Brawny, it might be too strong.
Don't sweat it, time to test it, just get
Private Jessica Lynch isn't home yet, but tonight, the next best thing. Her family arrived today at the U.S. military hospital in Germany, where she is recovering after her dramatic rescue. P.F.C. Lynch joined the Army to get an education and to see the world. Over the past few months, she has seen plenty. But for this small-town teenager, home will always be the hills and hollows of West Virginia. Who is Jessica Lynch? And where did this private turned POW get the resolve and the resilience to survive? Here's Dennis Murphy.
This is a Coalition Black Hawk helicopter on the ground and P.F.C. Lynch on a stretcher being carried to safety.
She has become the unlikely face of the war in Iraq. The pretty teenager, ambushed, held captive, and then rescued in daring fashion. She is a new American hero, and that doesn't really surprise those who know her best.
She was just always smiling and being a kind of a jokester, and just, you know, people like being around Jessie. She was actually voted Miss Congeniality at the local Worth County Fair, and which shows what kind of a personality she has.
Ask back home about Jessica Lynch, Jessie to everybody in Palestine, West Virginia, population 900, and they'll tell you what a kind, spirited, itty-bitty country girl she is. And they're as proud of her as they can be. Ken Heine, her high school principal.
I think that in these small rural communities that there is a character and a faith in their community and in their God and in their families that is a natural part of them that allows them to do these heroic things that Jessie has shown to the world.
This middle child of 3, daughter of a self-employed trucker, grew up playing in the woods and hunting with her dad and older brother. Jessica was a scrappy right fielder on the high school softball team. Rodney Watson coached her.
She would run that extra and run through a fence to catch a softball, to, you know, run into fences and stuff to catch balls. And that's the type of attitude that she had. She was a winner. She had a winning attitude.
By the end of high school, with her friends getting married, Jessica was telling people she wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. But that meant money for more schooling she didn't have. Jessica's own beloved kindergarten teacher, Linda Davies, said she was surprised when she read in the paper that Jessica had enlisted in the Army in July 2001.
And I saw her not too long after I saw the article, and I said, Jessica, what are you thinking? You told me you were going to become a teacher. And she said, it's okay, Mrs. Davies, I'm still going to be a teacher, but I wanted to travel and do some things like that first.
Charleston, West Virginia was the biggest place Jessica had ever seen. But now, as a supply clerk with the 507th Maintenance Company out of Fort Bliss, Texas, she was going to travel to places she had only dreamed about. Last January, just before her deployment to the Middle East, 19-year-old Private First Class Jessica Lynch visited Mrs. Davies and her current class of kindergartners. She asked the kids to please send her and the other soldiers letters.
She didn't feel that she would be in combat anywhere, but I'm sure that she also knew that there was that risk. But when I hugged her and told her to stay safe, she said she would, and I told her to keep in touch, and she did.
In February, Private Lynch sent a letter to her former teacher from Kuwait.
Just since this year, 2003, I've been to Mexico, Germany, and now Kuwait. I love to travel, and in November, I get to go to Hawaii. And then my favorite part down here, one day I will be a teacher standing in your spot, okay? Keep me and all soldiers in your prayers and thoughts as we will do our best to protect you all. Love, Jessica.
By the third week of March, Private Lynch's company had moved out. The young private, who never expected to be near the front lines, was rolling north. But at that moment, on the Euphrates River, the U.S. Marines were fighting for their lives in a place called Nasiriyah. The goal was to take 2 bridges in the town and secure the highway to Baghdad so the U.S. forces could advance up the road. But the fighting was intense. And somewhere in the dark, that night of March 23rd, in circumstances still murky, Private Lynch's small convoy of lightly armed cooks, mechanics, and supply clerks is believed to have stopped to repair some broken-down vehicles, and the enemy swarmed them. NBC's Kerry Sanders, who covered the Battle of Nasiriyah, picks up the story.
In this particular case, the 507th Maintenance Division and Jessica Lynch found themselves being attacked by Iraqi soldiers heading into a city that we now know was a Fedayeen central location for Iraqi soldiers.
Private Lynch and her fellow soldiers were mauled in an Iraqi ambush. 2 Americans were known dead. 13 others went missing, including Jessica Lynch.
It's a very confused picture.
Vernon Loeb, Pentagon reporter for the Washington Post, stitched together an account of that ambush from U.S. military and intelligence officials. By one Iraqi version of events, Private Lynch defiantly emptied her rifle on the enemy.
She had literally fired her weapon until it ran out of ammunition.
And that's all the U.S. military thought it knew about the fate of Private Jessica Lynch.
What's your name? P.F.C. Miller?
Because hours later, when a videotape of 5 terrified members of the ambush convoy turned up on Arabic television, the supply clerk from West Virginia was not seen among them. What's more, that gruesome tape showed bodies of American servicemen. Jessica Lynch was officially missing in action. Her family was hopeful, but distraught.
Jessie's a wonderful daughter, and we hope for her speedy return.
In the hills back home, the close-knit families of Palestine, West Virginia, tied yellow ribbons and sang the old hymns for strength.
Our God is an awesome God.
Friends like Jessica Lowe were overwhelmed.
You see like billboards and stuff with her name on it, and you just think about it and you just start crying.
Her kindergarten teacher remembered one candlelight vigil in particular.
The speaker said to the crowd of about 500 people, everybody here who thinks that Jessica's going to come home or knows Jessica's going to come home, raise your candle. And every candle at that service was raised.
A small town's faith in this young soldier and survivor.
What does Jesse mean to this community? Hero.
The amazing rescue of Jessica Lynch and the homecoming that awaits the pride of West Virginia.
Tonight on an all-new Law & Order Criminal Intent, Sunday's #1 drama.
This man was buried alive.
Young boys terrorizing the city.
Heisting bikes and killing people.
Under the spell of a Pied Piper.
Be good.
The secret to the case lies in his music.
He told him to do it!
All new Law & Order Criminal Intent, NBC tonight.
Father, I don't know what to tell my husband.
NBC next on an all-new American Dreams.
You're doing things and going places you shouldn't.
Follow one American family
And can I borrow your patty?
through the decade that changed a nation.
What did you do, my wife?
With special guest Vivian Green as Brenda Holloway, and coming up, B2K as The Temptations. All new American Dreams, NBC Next. When you need the news, count on MSNBC.com with free video. Because the news doesn't stop when you're at work. MSNBC.com, your online source for breaking news.
When news breaks, it's not what you know, it's who you know. From Baghdad to the UN, plus its impact on Rochester. No one can match the power of NBC News and News 10 NBC. Experts at home, reporters in the field.
I'm News 10 NBC's Dean Staley in the Kuwaiti desert.
For continuing coverage on the war with Iraq, stay tuned to News 10 NBC. When news breaks, it's not what you know, it's who you know. News 10 NBC.
We were at a dead stop and a school bus van just rear-ended us.
Hurt in a car wreck? Call 800-LAW-1333. We're Alexander and Catalano.
Dealing with insurance companies is not easy.
You call us, we call them. They know they've got to pay.
Alexander and Catalano do get results.
We can get you more because we know how.
It's the biggest check we ever got.
Call us, Alexander and Catalano.
1-800-LAW-1333.
I was very happy we went with Alexander and Catalano.
Why most diet pills don't work. They leave you craving food. Ephedrine-free Dexatrim Results is different. With advanced appetite control, fat burners, nutrients, and natural energy sources. So you steadily lose weight without feeling hungry. Goodbye cravings, hello results. Dexatrim Results.
You can't stop pain from happening, but you can stop it from hurting with the Icy Hot Patch. Concentrated pain relief that's icy first to dull the pain, then hot to relax pain away for hours of relief.
It's fantastic how long it works.
All Patrick used cars come with our Platinum Plus certificate.
Here again is Stone Phillips.
More now on Private First Class Jessica Lynch. She was among those who disappeared in the chaos after a convoy of supply trucks from the Army's 507th Maintenance Company out of Fort Bliss, Texas, was attacked by Iraqi irregulars. She was about to become the first American POW to be rescued since World War II. Here again, Dennis Murphy.
Private Lynch was declared missing in action in the first hours of the battle for Nasiriyah. A fight that saw days of ferocious combat until the U.S. Marines were able to take control of parts of the city. And when Kerry Sanders accompanied officers into a local hospital, doubling as a headquarters for Iraqi guerrilla fighters, they made a grim find.
In one room, they found a female soldier's uniform that had been torn up. The name was missing, the American flag patch was gone, and it was bloodied.
Sanders says a civilian around the hospital told the Marines that an American POW had been treated there but since moved. It was a tip that the POWs, or at least one of them, might still be in the area. But where? In a city of 500,000 people.
It's at this point, according to published reports, something happens that's right out of Hollywood. An Iraqi citizen identified as an English-speaking lawyer, someone the Marines call by the name Mohammed, sees an American female prisoner in a bed in Nasiriyah's other hospital, the Saddam Hospital, where his wife works as a nurse. Mohammed, according to reporters who talked to him later in the field, then goes to the Marines, risking his life crossing over into their secure lines, and tells them he knows exactly where the missing American woman is, in a cubicle on the 3rd floor of the heavily guarded hospital.
Immediately captured their attention, and they brought him in and they started questioning him. They then sent him back to the hospital twice to gain further information.
American intelligence officers had a satellite photo of the 6-story hospital complex, but they didn't know what the inside looked like, corridors and stairwells. Mohammed's sources say agreed to go back and draw some maps, identify guard posts.
On one of his return visits, he reported seeing somebody literally smacking Jessica Lynch around, striking her with his open hand several times. He also says that at one point he literally snuck into her room and told her, "Don't worry, it's going to be okay. They're going to come and get you."
Jessica Lynch didn't know it, but she had the attention of the U.S. Air Force, Navy, Marines, and U.S. Army. And their response was like no 911 call ever seen. After several days of planning, including moving the tipster Mohammed and his family to safety, on April 2nd, this past Wednesday, special operations teams made their move.
What they did was, at around 12:30 at night, under the cover of darkness, there was no moon at all, the 2nd Battalion 1st Marines began to open up on the Ba'ath Party headquarters, and it was a tremendous amount of firepower.
The fire raining down on the party headquarters was just a distraction. As the Air Force supplied cover from above, helicopters with their lights doused were racing toward the hospital only blocks away from the firefight. The rescue commandos put their specially equipped covert Black Hawk helicopters down right inside the Saddam Hospital compound. Heavily armed Army Rangers fanned out to protect the perimeter of the hospital, taking and returning fire as Navy SEALs stormed the building itself. Inside, they found a doctor who led them to Private Lynch's ward. A rescuer called out her name. No response.
She had been scared, had the sheet up over her head because she didn't know what was happening. She lowered the sheet from her head. She didn't really respond yet because I think she was probably pretty scared. The soldier again said, "Jessica Lynch, we're the United States soldiers here, and we're here to protect you and take you home." She seemed to understand that. And as he walked over, took his helmet off, she looked up to him and said, "I'm an American soldier too."
Seconds later, the SEALs were carrying her down the stairs on their stretcher. Outside, as the Rangers laid down more fire, they bore the soldier with painful head and leg injuries to the helicopter.
While the helicopter transported her to a nearby aircraft who was then going to move her on to a field hospital, Jessica held up her hand and grabbed the Ranger doctor's hand, held on it to her for the entire time and said, "Please don't let anybody leave me."
The U.S. military had pulled off one of the most astonishing rescues in the annals of war. And the world would soon know it.
The first confirmation, an Army POW returned to coalition control and being debriefed somewhere.
My neighbor, who is a relative of the Lynches, came bursting into my door and through the door, and she's screaming, "Jesse's alive, Jesse's alive."
In that moment of Palestine's answered prayers, West Virginia wasn't almost heaven, as the song and license plate proclaim. It was heaven, especially for Private Lynch's parents, Dee and Gregory. Private Lynch was soon at a U.S. military hospital in Germany, where doctors are treating her for 2 broken legs, a fractured foot and ankle, a fractured right arm, what may be gunshot wounds, a head laceration, and spinal injuries which she was operated on for, one of several operations she's had. The medical crew director whose team attended Private Lynch on the plane to Germany was frankly admiring.
Not sure I could have gone through that. I'm 6'2", 200 pounds, and she's just a little thing. She must be tough as nails.
But as joyful as the news has been for the people of Palestine, West Virginia, where again today they gave thanks.
God is good, isn't he?
In Texas, at Fort Bliss, there were services of remembrance for 8 of Private Lynch's fellow soldiers. Their remains were found in shallow graves in the same Iraqi hospital compound where the rescue took place. One of those soldiers was 23-year-old Lori Ann Paestua, a Native American from Arizona and a former roommate and good friend of Jessica Lynch. Private Paestua is the first American servicewoman killed in the war. Those 5 POWs from Fort Bliss are still unaccounted for.
Our hearts are really saddened for her and her troop members and the other families.
When told the news of the identification of his daughter's fellow soldiers, Gregory Lynch was overcome with grief. The Lynch family was flown to Germany yesterday for a reunion with their daughter, whose condition today was described as stable. There were no cameras in her intensive care unit, but attending doctors said she had a big smile on her face when her mom and dad arrived. The young woman who wondered if her hometown newspaper had written at all about her captivity was now reunited with her family. But what she saw, what she suffered and endured, we can only speculate about. What isn't in doubt is the homecoming she'll receive.
What does Jesse mean to this community? Hero. I think that Jesse Lynch, 20 years from now, will still be hero to this community.
That little girl you knew has become an American hero.
She sure has, and I've said to people, can you imagine being a student in this American Heroines class, and she will be a wonderful teacher.
While there is still much we don't know about Private Lynch's time in captivity, there is word this weekend that Marines found her dog tags in the home of a suspected Ba'ath Party representative near the hospital where she was held.
Coming up, a journalist. Covering the war, he brought us images and insights no one can forget.
Tom, we're under attack right now.
A look back at the extraordinary career and life of David Bloom.
Don't you love nurseries pollen? Look at that runny nose and those itchy eyes.
Yeah, ragweed, it doesn't get better than this.
Seasonal allergies live to make you miserable, but Allegra is specifically designed to block the histamine that triggers so many symptoms. Maybe that's why it's the #1 prescription antihistamine.
Looks like our little garden party's over.
You can thank Allegra for that.
For people 12 and over, side effects are low and may include headache, cold, or back pain. Ask your doctor about Allegra.
Allegra schmalegra.
Allegra. So much relief for so many symptoms.
Okay, sweetie. Bye-bye.
Can you check on my flight, please?
Sure. Call team.
Hey, Vanessa, have you finished my brother's birthday card yet?
Have now.
Now at Radio Shack, get this PCS Vision-enabled color screen phone from Sprint just $49.99 after $130 in instant savings. Or a Fujifilm digital camera just $199.99, plus a free photo accessory kit after mail-in rebate.
How do you always have the answers to everybody's questions?
Radio Shack, you've got questions, we've got answers.
It's far better to spend 15 seconds looking at this now than in 15 years wishing you had. Retirement, loans, insurance. AIG. We know money.
Ladies and gentlemen, the technology offensive has begun. Observe. Laser-guided adaptive cruise control, a rear-view camera, suspension that lowers at speed, headlights that turn to illuminate your path on curves.
Enough. So, what do we do now?
Introducing the entirely new Lexus RX 330. Putting the world on notice again.
What do we do now?
What's inside every bag of Hershey's Kisses? one thrill after another. Little Hershey's Kisses, big chocolate taste.
Could you please locate the complete medical records of Stephen B. Smith of Midville, Indiana? And please pay extremely close attention to retrieving the CT abdominal scan made on January 14th, 1984.
Imagine a digital information command center where a patient's medical history can be summoned up in seconds. GE Medical Systems Information Technology.
That's the scan.
Delivering digital medical information how it's needed.
A negative, allergic to penicillin.
Fast.
Everything's going to be okay.
Could you please find
the June 94 MRI of Tom Henvey's liver?
Right.
GE, imagination at work.
14 years ago, a female jogger was raped and left for dead in New York's Central Park. No one ever knew who she was or what really happened. Tonight on NBC, all that will change. A Katie Couric exclusive, The Central Park Jogger. Tonight, 10/9 Central on NBC.
Hate is a 4-letter word. So is love. Which one are you going to teach your children?
From our studios in New York, here again is Stone Phillips.
Finally tonight, a casualty report. The human cost of war always comes down to one town, one circle of friends, one family. Tonight, the NBC family is mourning the death of one of our own, correspondent David Bloom. He died earlier today in Iraq of an apparent pulmonary embolism. In a statement, NBC News President Neil Shapiro said, David Bloom was one of the best in the business. He was relentless in his drive to get the story first and get it right. He loved nothing better than being out front on a big story. And the last few weeks, that is exactly where he was. Tonight, we remember David Bloom.
Essentially what we're doing is we're rumbling along north in the general direction of Baghdad with the third ID.
Millions of Americans saw the war in Iraq through the eyes of NBC News correspondent David Bloom.
We are in a fierce sandstorm right now in south central Iraq with the 315 Infantry of the U.S. Army's 3rd Infantry Division. Just in the last half hour or so, the sandstorm has become so fierce that you can't see more than maybe 15, 20 feet in front of you.
Rolling at top speed as the 3rd Infantry advanced through the desert.
We had 3 or 4 hours of sleep, and that's been about it. But, you know, as these soldiers will tell you, the adrenaline tends to keep them pumped up. The sun doesn't set here for another hour to hour and a half, and yet you can't see 3 feet in front of you because the sand is just whipping and so fierce. The intelligence that they get is very good intelligence. I was in the tactical command area a couple hours ago, and they have very detailed maps of the forces that they're likely to confront in the days to come.
It was only natural that David was where the action was. NBC News anchor Tom Brokaw.
David Bloom was the consummate reporter. He'd land in my office without knocking, slide the chair up to my desk, and then begin to suck all the oxygen out of the room as he would ask one question after another about how to cover the next story or who he should be contacting or sharing with me. And then, in a flash, he was gone, off to the next assignment.
As NBC's Washington bureau chief, Tim Russert was one of David's mentors.
He also had a sense of decency and civility to his reporting. And didn't go for the cheap shot. And you take that professionalism and you infuse it with his enthusiasm, and you had something that viewers wanted to watch, wanted to embrace.
Last night, he was on the outskirts of Baghdad. With a little downtime, he called home.
David called the desk and asked for the scores of the Final Four basketball, and sports fan to the end. And then he was going to call his wife, which he did, Melanie, and he turned off his cell phone, and he got out of the Bluemobile and walked about 10 yards and collapsed. And the Army medics were there immediately. They tried very hard to revive him and bring him to a field hospital. And they couldn't do it. Great guy. He would have been 40 on May 22nd.
David Bloom grew up in Minnesota, an avid hockey player and a high school debater. He began his television career in La Crosse, Wisconsin, but he had bigger plans, and they began to take shape when he took to the airwaves in Miami.
The storm is, why did some neighborhoods suffer so much damage and others so little?
Hurricane Andrew, the storm that devastated South Florida, showed David in his element, in the middle of the big story.
David's dream was to become a network correspondent, and David had an aura about him and a quality about him that just stood out in the crowd.
He won a Peabody Award for his hurricane coverage, and a job as an NBC News correspondent followed.
What are you doing here?
He was just 29.
Yeah, what are you doing?
He was the roving reporter.
This is Highway 24 on the Missouri side of the Mississippi, or at least it was until the levee broke. Because the problem with Monica Lewinsky's testimony is that 43% of the American troops here in Bosnia, there are actually 3 key lawsuits going on today.
He became a White House correspondent. His former NBC partner there, Claire Shipman.
When he was going after a story, he was dogged. And I remember I would sit next to him in our teeny little White House booth and listen to him on the phone, cajoling and wheedling and demanding information from his sources. People who probably wanted to hang up on him, but he'd begin every conversation saying, "Hey, buddy, hey, buddy," and I really think he thought of everybody as his buddy.
In 2000, David jumped from the White House to Weekend Today, where he was co-anchor with Soledad O'Brien.
He came in saying, "I'm a White House correspondent. You know, I was the White House correspondent. I don't know if you guys know this, but I was the White House correspondent." So when we put a wig on him for our disco show, I think he was a little concerned.
It was a chance for the hard news guy to show a softer side.
Okay, now, is this supposed to go on my arm?
But with war looming, David traded the studio at 30 Rock for the Iraqi desert and the front line.
I think he assumed he was going. So the question was, how will I have the kind of coverage that will blow everyone else off the map? And it was the Bloommobile.
He helped design that satellite-linked camera so he could report live, even on the move.
We've now crossed into southern Iraq. This mission began with about a half hour of artillery strikes into Iraq. That's the artillery going off as they hit 2 Iraqi observation posts.
Today, there was praise for David Bloom and his work.
David Bloom is a great human being. His reporting from the field was stellar. The troops in the field had grown to like him and respect him, and he will be missed.
Former President Bill Clinton said David was, quote, a really fine man. His integrity and good humor will be missed, not only by those who knew him, but by millions of people who were enlightened by his hard work.
I got into a lot of scraps with him at the White House podium, but at the end of the day, you could go out and laugh and joke with him, and he was really a fun person to be around.
David's last nightly news report was filed Friday, 25 miles from Baghdad.
NBC's David Bloom saw just how determined and dangerous that Iraqi resistance can be. He reports again for us tonight.
Tom, once again tonight we're with the 315 Infantry, this combat battalion from the U.S. Army's 3rd Infantry Division.
He'd been working toward this story his whole life.
Tom, we're under attack right now. The wind has been gusting here 30, 40, 50 miles an hour all day. We're in south central Iraq. If I can ask my cameraman, Craig White, just to sort of pan around here, you can see some of the vehicles just moving along this road. And for the first time in 5 days, this force is once again on the move. For now, I'm David Bloom with the U.S. Army's 3rd Infantry Division in south central Iraq. Back to you.
I'd often think, would it be that young again? And then I'd think, but if I were that young again, I'd have to compete against David. And I don't think I want to do that.
To the point that those Medina divisions are now at perhaps only 20%.
David loved being a reporter, but his most passionate role, family man for his wife and 3 daughters.
You can't explain him unless you talk about his devotion to his craft and to a story, but also to his girls, his ladies, as he would call them.
David Bloom was 39 years old. NBC's David Bloom. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family. Good night.